Good morning to everybody. The title of my sharing is The Six Great Gifts. And the title is because when the Buddha attained his great awakening by himself, self-enlightened, six great qualities also appeared in this world. So I term it the six great gifts that he gave to us, which we must know about the Buddha. Because if we don't know what the Buddha brought, we are not sure about the benefits that the Buddha offered to us. Also, this talk I heard for the first time when the great meditation master, Sayadaw U Pandita, who has passed away a few years ago, when he delivered this, I listened to it and I took down notes. And I was very impressed and struck by the meaning of his sharing. So today, I'm very happy to offer this gift back to brothers and sisters here at Buddhist Fellowship. Because it allowed me, it opened up, in fact, many years ago, after I heard this, it opened up a deeper understanding of who the Buddha was, and what did he teach. Because many times, when we come into Buddhism, when we come into the Buddha's teachings, into contact, we are not sure who the Buddha actually is. And I'm not sure about here in Singapore, but when we celebrate the full moon of the month of Wesak, we call it Wesak Day, I also observe that there are many un-Buddhistic practices that people do in the name of the Buddha's teachings. And because of that, I feel it is important that we return, we study what are the essential teachings of the Buddha, and have a deep understanding of it. Because Buddhism, all over the world in fact, but more especially so in Southeast Asia, it is a mixture, it is a great potpourri, a rojak, in fact, we like to use this word rojak, of different understandings, different cultural practices, and different bits of information that it has become a great mixture. So for us who are really interested in the actual teachings of the Buddha, we must make the effort to understand what did the Buddha actually teach. Some scholars who study the teachings of the Buddha, either as academic, because people do study this at university level. There are PhD holders, doctorate holders, who study Buddhism as an Eastern religion. And there are those who study it as a spiritual practice, which means us. We approach it as a spiritual practice. And we want to know what exactly did the Buddha teach. Because as we look around, many of us, many even people outside there are confused. What really did the Buddha teach? What really are the Buddha's teachings? Because we see a bit here, we see a bit there, and it is not uniform. You go to certain centers, they do this. You go to certain centers, they do that. So the thought will arise in those who are keen and interested, what exactly are the teachings, the real teachings of the Buddha? And some scholars have given the teachings the term early Buddhism. Early Buddhism is the term that these academics, in fact, describe the teachings that the Buddha gave while he was still alive. Because as some of you know, after the Buddha passed away, there were many developments. Some of them good, and some of them rather confusing about the Buddha's teachings. So today, I hope to at least share with you what I think Yeah, I'm not the definitive authority, yeah, but at least I have studied it for a great number of years. Yeah, I was taken to the Dhamma school at the age of 12, yeah, where I was very lucky to study under great teachers, yeah, one of which was the late Kesari Dhammananda. You might have heard of him. Yeah, and also the principal of the Dhamma school was Venerable H. Gunaratana. Yeah, H. Gunaratana. Right. So I've been very lucky since then, yeah, to have met and to have learned, yeah, from really well-established masters. So our story begins with the enlightenment of the Buddha 2,562 years ago. And to different people, this enlightenment has different significances. Yeah, to Buddhists, you know, we take it that the being, you know, that we call Siddhartha had a great transformation, yeah, and something happened to him on that night that he sat under this tree called the Bodhi tree, yeah, during the full moon day of Vesak. And then we are told, yeah, that because of this experience, he became the being called the Buddha. Yeah, and many people see it in different ways. Yeah, and there are, in fact, Hindus who say that the Buddha, yeah, is an incarnation of a Hindu god. So there are many interpretations, and therefore we go back, yeah, to what is termed the essential teachings of the Buddha to understand what actually happened. When we look at the Buddha, we sometimes see that the Buddha has been represented, yeah, as a human being and also as a celestial being. Because after the Buddha passed away and he is no longer on this earth, people began to imagine the Buddha as a god, as a celestial being. Yeah, and then that part of Buddhism began to develop. But when we look at the Buddha's teachings, we learn that the Buddha said, he did categorically say, I am not a god, I am not a deva. He said to those people who met him. So then, who is the Buddha? What is the Buddha? And when we look closer, we see the Buddha explained, yeah, that he was born as a human being, but because of his past training, many eons, lifetimes, world cycles of training, he was able to develop all that which is good for a living being to do. So if we were to ask the Buddha, what good things have you done? Yeah, I'm told, yeah, if one person were to describe the good things that the Buddha has done, every minute, every second, we would not have a full lifetime to describe the good things that the Buddha has done. Every good thing, from helping people to sacrificing himself, the whole range that he has done. So which means to say that perfection of being a good person, of being a wise person, has reached its full limit that any living being can ever do. He has done all those things. And every unwholesome thing to avoid, to give up, to let go and not do it anymore, he has also done that. That means when he discovered this action is not good, he let it go and never did it. So that is the meaning of the Buddha. He has perfected all the good things. But we cannot see that because the Buddha appeared to people on earth as an ordinary human being. But what he has as the potential of his mind could not be seen. It's not easy to understand. So for those of us who just look at the image of the Buddha, it is only an image of a human being. But when we study and practice, we put in the effort to really understand what the Buddha taught, we begin to see that this is no ordinary human being. His understanding, his wisdom is really extraordinary, not normal for anyone. So he began to explain all the things that people should do in order to overcome their unhappiness and reach what is the real happiness that doesn't go away. So this is the nature of the Buddha. And therefore, we should take the time and the effort to study and practice more. And as I study and practice for so many years, I begin to at least little bit understand the full character, the full potential of the Buddha's teachings. In some cases, we describe the Buddha as the flower of mankind. I'm not sure whether you come across this song, this hymn, The Flower of Mankind. It's a really nice hymn, which many people sing during Vesak Day. In this hymn, it describes, in the whole tree, if mankind were to be a tree, all of us are little leaves on the tree. There's only one flower, and that flower sits on top of the tree, and that flower is the Buddha. So, if we have any aspiration to reach our full potential as a living being, whether as a human, as a deva, as a Brahma, the hardest thing to ever do for any living being is to attain Buddhahood. Some people aspire to become great conquerors. Some people aspire to become great musicians. We have heard that there are kids, young children, at the age of 6, they can play great symphonies and recitals. So which means to say, according to Buddhist explanation, these people have been practicing before in previous lives. So for a Buddha, that means in many, many previous lives, he has been striving to do all the good things, to develop his mind, to understand the full meaning of life. So this is the being we call Buddha. The meaning of Buddha, it comes from the root word, the Indian Pali word, Bud. And Bud means to wake up. A person who has woken up, we give the title Buddha. So the Buddha is a person who has woken up. So he wakes up from the dream of ignorance, and then he tells us, excuse me, we have all been dreaming. It's time for us to wake up. So we are Buddhists. So what is the meaning of Buddhist? People who are waking up, in the process of waking up. So if you ever describe yourself, I'm a Buddhist, the actual meaning is in the process of waking up. So when the Buddha attained this self-enlightenment, no one taught him to be enlightened. He had teachers for other practices, but no one showed him the way to be enlightened. He was self-enlightened. That's why we call him Samma Sambuddha. The full title is Samma Sambuddha, self-enlightened one. He woke up through his own efforts. So when the Buddha appeared 2,562 years ago, it was a quiet, relatively quiet experience because he attained the enlightenment deep in the forest. There was no audience. There was no crowd to witness this. But he knew that he was no longer the same. He was not the same person who sat there. The person who got up from that sitting was not the same person. Because everything that he had aspired to attain, he attained during that night. So anything that a living being can do, he did it to its highest spiritual potential. So that's how we should look at the Buddha, a great spiritual being who came to teach us, a great teacher, of how to overcome our problems and find the highest happiness. Because in life, we go through a lot of difficulties, challenges, and things that, make us want to look for spiritual pathways. 2 days ago, I was here yesterday sharing with the youth. I found that a great TV personality whom I personally liked had killed himself. His name was Anthony Bourdain. Do you know him? Yeah, he's a chef and a TV personality, and very well known, very well liked. He'd come to Singapore and Malaysia before, made a lot of money. But he decided at the age of 61 to kill himself. And it makes me wonder, why did he do that? He has everything that most people can desire. But he did not have the ability to live with his problems. In spite of all the outward trappings of wealth and fame and being liked, people liked him. He's a nice person. Yeah, that's what I gather from TV. He was not happy. So sometimes we come to the conclusion that it's not about the outside things, the outside experiences, the trappings. Yeah, we might own this, we might own that, but what actually is inside, is the most important. So this is what the Buddha aimed to teach us, how to find that happiness that lasts. Yeah, we can be happy for a short time. Sometimes we go and eat something really, really nice, and we are happy. Last night went out for a meal with my friends. Oh, it was a very nice meal. You do have good food in Singapore. Yeah. But it doesn't last. So what the Buddha was concerned was, find the happiness that lasts. Doesn't go away. Yeah, it's not temporary, it's not transient, it's not impermanent. This is what the Buddha offered to us. And because the 6 gifts arose with him, we are able to experience, work for it. It's not easy to come by. A lot of study, and practice. But we can, because we are told, that since the Buddha started teaching, many, many beings, human beings and other beings, also were able to attain the same high grade of happiness as the Buddha. Right? And we overcome all these disturbances of the mind, unhappiness, insecurities, that appear in our mind as we live our normal lives. So this is the Buddha, that great teacher. And at the end of his life, he lived until the age of 80. And then he passed away. So he's no longer with us. But what is with us are the teachings. So we call that the Dhamma. The Dhamma are the teachings of the Buddha. And who are the people who has kept the teachings alive? Through study and practice, we call these people the Sangha, the community of the disciples. Actually, there are 4 folds. There are 4 types of Sangha. The monks, we know the monks because they shave their hair and wear orange robes and sometimes gray robes. The nuns, the women. Then we get the Upasaka, the male lay disciples, which are here. And the Upasika, the female lay disciples, who are also here. So these make up the 4-fold Sangha. Because for some reason or other, not everyone can renounce, shave the hair, and wear the orange robes. We might have responsibilities. We might have duties that we have to do, such as we have to look after parents. We have to look after our siblings who are sick. And we dedicate our lives to looking after them. Therefore, we don't have that freedom or independence to shave and renounce our lay life. But still, we can remain with the study and practice of the Buddha's teachings. So we are here, the fourfold Sangha, the monks, the nuns, the male lay disciples, and the female lay disciples. We can refer to ourselves also as the Sangha if we practice. If we study and practice, we can include ourselves in this group, which we call the Sangha. But then we must make the distinction. There is also this group called the extraordinary Sangha. We are the ordinary Sangha, the world belonging to the world Sangha. There are those who have studied and practiced and have gone beyond suffering and difficulties, and we call these the Arya Sangha. Those who have not crossed, who are still within this world of existence, we call ourselves the worldly Sangha, Puttujana, belong to the world. The other group no longer belongs to the world. They are heading towards Nibbana, the real happiness and freedom. So, how does it begin? It began with the Buddha, who one day when he was with his disciples, the monks, he said to them, monks, he was ready to teach them something. He said, monks, there is one person, and he used this word, Eka Puggala. Eka means one. In Pali, the language of the Buddha, Eka means one. So Eka is one, Di, two. Three is Ti, Eka, Di, Ti, Chatu, Pancha, etc., etc. So these are the Pali numerals. So he said, monks, there's one person whose arising in the world is for the welfare of the many, for the happiness of the many, who comes out of compassion for the world, for the good welfare and happiness of devas and human beings. So immediately he is referring to a special person who doesn't arise all the time. In the long existence of the universe, sometimes, in certain universes, because as you know, this universe is not permanent. The universe has existed, and then it is destroyed, and then a new universe will come into being. And many scientists, today's scientists said, we came into being because of a process called the Big Bang. They said that suddenly, the universe was created out of an explosion. So they call the explosion the Big Bang. That tells us that there is a beginning. And also scientists generally agree that the universe will come to an end one day. The Buddha, interestingly enough, explained the existence of the universe 2,500 years ago. In one of the suttas, I believe it is called Aganya Sutta, he said there are three phases of the universe. The universe comes into being. There is an expansion stage. That means the universe will expand. And when scientists look out at the universe, they really agree. They are shocked to find that the planets, the solar, galaxies are actually expanding. They are going further and further from each other. Scientists used to think it was solid state. All the galaxies are created and they just stay like that. But when they invented the telescope out in space, they actually saw that everything is traveling further and further away from each other. Which is in line with the Buddha's teachings. The Buddha's teaching says there is an expansion phase. Then the universe will stop expanding and stay steady, stay the same. And then he said, the universe will contract. There is a contraction phase. But don't worry, it's very, very many, many millions of years ahead of us. And the Buddha explained, only during the expansion phase, there will be life in the universe. Once the universe stops expanding, there will no longer be life. Why that is so, I really do not know. But these are the descriptions that the Buddha gave about the universe. So in certain universes, there are no Buddhas. Buddhas do not appear. Yeah, the universe right now, I think they agree, is about 17 billion years old. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's about 17 billion, 16 point something, according to the calculation of Western scientists. And it will exist for a very, very long time, and then it will come to an end. So during this cycle, we are told by the Buddha that there are universes, that there are no Buddhas. So people will understand life. There will be intelligent, there will be wise people who will look and they will see and they will explain the nature of life. But there is a difference. Because the Buddha is enlightened, he will explain the full nature of existence, not partial. And what do I mean? Those people who are intelligent, even before the Buddha, there were many wise people, great intelligent teachers, who explained that this world is subject to two characteristics. Number one, this world is subject to dukkha, unsatisfactoriness. That means people will explain happiness, and they will also explain a great deal of sadness as well. There will be happy and there will be sad. So that is accepted. Yeah. This life, we experience this. Yeah? We experience dukkha. We also will experience anicca, meaning impermanence. Things change. So the intelligent and wise people will see this and they will teach their disciples. But there is one teaching that only Buddhas will teach. No other teachers will teach this. And that is the characteristic of anatta. No permanent self. You will find no other religious teacher teaching anatta. The Buddha was unique in that he taught this. And he said that there is actually no permanent self. There is a self for this life, but after that, it comes to an end. Yeah, the person you see here will come to an end. All that is left is energy. And this energy will produce another life. It is not one soul going from life to life. No, the Buddha did not explain it. Other people will explain it that way. The Buddha said, no, that is not quite accurate. So only the Buddha explains anatta. And through the teachings of anatta, he backs it up, supports it with the attainment of the greatest happiness called Nibbana. So you find that there are no other teachers teaching anatta and Nibbana. Only the Buddha teaches this. Right? So he is unique in this universe. There will be some universes or world cycles, we call it, where there is only one Buddha. And that is a cause of great joy. Because then the Buddha will explain the real nature of existence. And then we can attain Nibbana. Some will have more than one. Our world cycle, there are 5. Buddha Gautama is number 4. Before Buddha Gautama, there have been 3 fully enlightened, self-enlightened Buddhas. But we seldom hear about them in the Pali tradition. Unless, you have chanted some discourses on 28 Buddhas. Have you come across that, anyone? Yeah, these are all the Buddhas that Gautama met in the final stage of training. And this Buddha, Gautama, said, there is one more to come after me. And this Buddha is called Maitreya. Yeah. And so after Maitreya has come, according to the teachings of this Buddha Gautama, by the way, they all teach the same thing, as I mentioned before. All Buddhas have the same message. Yeah. They will all teach the same thing. Avoid evil, do good, purify your mind. That is the basic message. They do not teach other things. Yeah? The nature of the Buddha is to see the truth and teach the same truth. So before the year 2012, as I gave talks, people would ask me, brother, I hear that in 2012 the world is going to come to an end. Have you heard this? Because there's this Mayan calendar calculation. Their calendar ended in 2012. So I said, don't worry, Maitreya hasn't come. The world will not come to an end. And now it's 2018, so we are pretty safe for the time being. Yeah. So this is termed an auspicious epoch, world cycle. There are 5 Buddhas, to teach this great truth that leads to the highest happiness. Okay, then, sorry, I didn't do the other part. Who is this one person, right? And the Buddha explained, it is the Tathagata, well gone, the Arahant, the fully enlightened one. That is that one person. This Eka Pugala, special person, arises very rarely. And so the Buddha is not describing just himself. He is egoless. So he will describe, there is this one person, and we must understand what he brings. And so the Buddha went on to explain, this person arising in the world is unique, without equal, without counterpart, incomparable, unequal, matchless, unrivaled, the best of humans. And who is that one person? It is the Buddha, the Tathagata, the Arahant, fully enlightened one. He is that one person. So if you go and to the text, you will find it in this section called the Anguttara Nikaya, where the Buddha describes this one person, whom he is also one of them, but not exclusively to himself. So we see that when the fully enlightened Buddha appears in this world, there's great benefit. There's benefit never before seen with other teachers. And 6 incomparable qualities appear in this world because of his enlightenment. If there's no Buddha enlightenment, no full enlightenment, these 6 qualities do not appear. And they bring about freedom, and the true happiness. And if you're interested, the reference is there, Anguttara Nikaya 113, but there are also others, which I have sent to Brother Edmund. So what are these 6 incomparable qualities? These are the 6. Incomparable quality of seeing, incomparable quality of hearing, gaining, training, service, and recollection. Then the question will arise, we have all these. We have seeing, we have hearing, we have gaining, training, we also have service and recollection. What is so special about what the Buddha brought into this world? Firstly, we look at the incomparable quality of seeing or perception. We see a lot of things. When I come to Singapore, I see new things. And it amazes me, when I see all these things. It makes me actually happy to see that new things, good things are happening. There are all these landmarks. There are great changes happening in the environment. Sometimes we go and travel. We go to other countries, and when we see those things, it makes us very happy. We like to travel. We like to see new scenery, new landmarks. Beginning of the year, I went with my family to Japan, and so many things to see in Japan. I enjoyed it. It was a good trip, including soaking in the hot bath. Yeah, it was a interesting thing to experience and see. So we have those things that we like to see. But what is it that the Buddha wanted us to see? This seeing is not the normal seeing. Yeah? This kind of seeing is called noble seeing. So when you come here to this center, to the Buddhist fellowship, it is not just seeing good friends, like Brother Jerry, when I see him, I experience happiness. But it's more than that. When you come here, the Buddha wants us to experience noble seeing, not the ordinary kind of seeing. Yeah? Because that kind of seeing, when we see each other, it is called mundane seeing, ordinary seeing. Seeing is noble, incomparable, when it leads to understanding reality. Yeah. So this is the truth. This is what the Buddha, wanted us to see. The Buddha's teachings is not to start a religion. If you can imagine how the Buddha conducted himself 2,500 years ago in India, you can understand the nature of his teachings. All he wanted was quiet place, a few disciples, and then he taught them about how to look for happiness and truth. So in the same way, you see that happening sometimes when we go for management training. It's very simple, very straightforward. There was no need for great temples. There was no need for great centers. The Buddha was not interested in that. He wanted straightforward way of teaching, to see reality. And what is reality? Reality is to understand the true nature of our existence. Why do we exist? How do we exist? There isn't any reference in the Buddha's system of teaching to some higher being. There is no system of practice that we must put ourselves through in order to gain this kind of happiness. The Buddha said it is through study and practice. Very, very straightforward. And then we will see the actual nature of reality. What we are made of, mind and body. And when we see this, we will be free, freed from our wrong views about our existence. So the Buddha saw dangers in the world. He could see that there are many insecurities that human beings experience. During his lifetime, those disciples could see the Buddha. Once when I went to Bangkok in Thailand, I wanted to see Emerald Buddha. Do you know there is this Emerald Buddha in Bangkok? So I went with my wife to try and see it. They said, no, you cannot see. Because Emerald Buddha is very expensive, we have to have security. You cannot go inside. Then I realized that these people are not paying respect to Buddha, they are paying respect to emerald. Because the emerald is so expensive, you cannot see. Why do you make a Buddha that that people are prevented from seeing and paying respect to? So in actual fact, when they make Buddhas out of gold, out of precious metal and stone, they are actually paying respect to gold. Because when we have Buddha made out of wood, Buddha made out of clay and earth, when we understand the Buddha, it's good enough. Understanding of the Buddha's wisdom can appear in an image of earth and clay. No need to make Buddhas out of emerald. So that is our, that is our understanding. Now, we cannot see the Buddha because Buddha has already passed away. Physically, he's gone. But we have many images of the Buddha. And sometimes we say, when we travel, there are images of Tibetan Buddha, images of Chinese Buddha, Thai Buddha, right? Burmese Buddha, Sri Lanka Buddha. There's an image of the Buddha in London, really look like European. So he's got European features, sharp nose, all these features. Because the Europeans make the Buddha out of their own image. Yeah? Because they relate to it. I want to pay respect, so I must have a European Buddha as well. Yeah. So this is how we relate. But when we understand the Buddha, when we understand what he teaches, we don't need all this expensive material. When you bow down in front of the Buddha, it is actually bowing down to his wisdom, what he has taught us, these gifts that he has brought for us. Right? So the Buddha wanted us to see the Dhamma. The Dhamma is actually reality, what is real, not what is imagined. Because in the name of religion, we can imagine a lot of things, some strange things. Even within Buddhism, we imagine, Buddha wants this, Buddha wants that. Yeah. Sometimes we put the yellow string on our hand, and then we say, okay, this yellow string will protect us. So anything that is scary, okay, yellow string. The yellow string doesn't do that. That is not the function of the yellow string. Yeah, we wear the yellow string so that every time we look at it, we are reminded we are Buddhists. And Buddhists are in the process of awakening, of waking up. That is the purpose of the yellow string. Yeah. I used to wear a Buddha image when I was young. And then people told me, hey, you cannot wear Buddha image into the toilet. It is disrespectful. Yeah, when I was about, I think, 8 or 9, I was given the Buddha image. Then every time I go to the toilet, I had to take out. Come out, put it back on again. Then feel very good. Because in the toilet, there's no Buddha image. I feel unprotected. I was hoping, hey, there's nothing in the toilet that will get me while I'm there. Then I realized, hey, Buddha also went to toilet. Then I let go of that strange thought, that people had been putting into me. Right? So in the name of religion, we get all kinds of very, very strange ideas and very strange practices. Yeah. But the Buddha didn't teach those things. Buddha is very, very clear, very straightforward, very, very basic. Yeah? You study, you practice, you see the truth. That's all there is to it. So this is what he wanted us to see. Right? So this great seeing is in the Noble Eightfold Path, Samadhi, right seeing. Right seeing is right at the beginning. Yeah, some people call it right understanding, but it's actually right seeing, to be able to see. Because once we see the right way, everything is clear. But when we see things not the right way, we can go round and round, doing all kinds of things. The next one is right hearing. Yeah, we hear music, sometimes we hear poetry, and we enjoy it very, very much. Oh, this is great music, this is great poetry. Right. But there is another kind of hearing, and that is the hearing of the expounding of the truth, whatever is real. Yeah. So sometimes you get great teachers and speakers, not the part-time one, like half-baked ones, really, really wise teachers. I'm sure they come to this center as well. So you have to listen to them. What are they teaching? What do they bring to us? It's fine to listen to music. It's fine to listen to many things. Sometimes we like to listen to our friend's voice. Sometimes we phone somebody, I just call you to listen to your voice. Especially when you are far away, in another country, you call up your family, your spouse, your wife, and say, I just wanted to hear your voice. And that gives us happiness, a sense of peace. But the Buddha's hearing is to take us beyond this. We listen to the Dhamma so that it makes a change. There's a transformation, in the way we see things. When we listen to the Dhamma, We hear with the intention of strengthening our own practice. So this is what I hope, that everybody comes here not just to listen, because there are times we listen to the Dhamma as entertainment. Oh, this monk gives very good talks. We should go and listen because it's very nice to hear. It is entertaining. And then after that, when we come out, what did he talk about? No, it was nice, but I can't remember. I know it was a good talk. What did he talk about? Can't remember. But when I was there listening, I had a good time. So it's not about that. It is actually, to listen to it. And I am leaving this talk on the desktop. Anybody wants it, please take it. I'm very happy you can take it home and read it again. Right? So our practice is important. This is, I spoke to the youth yesterday, it's a DIY religion. What is DIY? Do it yourself. Yeah, it's a DIY. Nowadays, DIY your own house. You repair your own house. Especially in the Western countries, carpenters and workmen are very expensive. So many people DIY, do it yourself. Yeah, we have to do it ourselves because in this system of practice, nobody saves us but ourselves. Yeah, if we want the happiness, we have to work for it. If we want the freedom from insecurity and worry, we have to work for it. Yeah, that's why it's DIY. Yeah, then I also talked about. So the Buddha expounded his teachings in a systematic way. Yeah, it's all very systematic. And if we are interested to learn, we must learn systematically, about the Buddha. Yeah, the Buddha says, first of all, let us start with dana. Dana is charity or letting go. Yeah, then we go on to sila, which is morality, the practice of virtues. And then we go on to bhavana, which is the training of the mind in order to understand deeply and clearly these teachings. So I would like to share with you the words of a very famous Burmese teacher. And some of you might have come across this teacher. He is Venerable Ledi Sayadaw. Very famous teacher in Burma at the beginning of the 20th century, I believe. Right. And this is what he says. Allow me to just read out, because I found this passage and it was very, very significant. Venerable Sayadaw said, since the beginningless round of my existence in samsara, these 2 years, whether human or animal or deva, filled with human voices and human speech, or deva voices and deva speech, or Brahma voices and Brahma speech, but also it could be animal and ghost, peta as well. These ears have been listening to all kinds of noises and speech. But he said, all worldly talk only fans the flames of our ignorance, our defilements, craving, in fact, attachment. Whatever we hear increases our attachment. We like this and we are attached to it. Sometimes we see new things, we are attached to it. I heard yesterday from my wife, there's this new ice cream. It really looks nice, looks like kueh. And then we see it, we are attached. We get attached to it. And when I heard about it, I also got attached. I said, when we get time, I'm not sure whether we have time. We go and try it also. This ice cream that in the shape of a kueh. Right? So Venerable Sayadaw says, craving, anger, delusion, personalized view, aging, and death. All these things I have heard comes through my ears, concerned with these things. Never before have I heard different kinds of speech which teaches me to extinguish the fire. Rather than burn more, now I have heard the words, the speech that teaches me to lower the intensity of the fire. Very, very unique. And showing me the way to do it. And he was so happy. He says, how opportune it is for me. Lucky, fortunate it is. From now on, he was so inspired. He says, I will only use my ears to listen to the most precious and timely sound before it is too late. That means before he passes away. Because once he came into contact with the Buddha's teachings, he doesn't want to hear gossip. He doesn't want to hear entertainment. He doesn't want to hear about what to eat and all that. He only wants to use his ears to hear Dhamma. This is his aspiration. And he wrote about it in his book, The Manual of the Excellent Man. That's why he was such a great teacher. Then there is the incomparable quality of gaining. We gain a lot of things. We gain property, we gain all kinds of things. When my parents passed away, passed me a great big library of Buddhist books. So I have gained that. Now we don't know what to do because we want to move to a smaller place. So I've got this great big collection of books in my house, right? So we gain this money, property, children, fame, etc., etc. But the Buddha says these are inferior gaining. Because when we come here and listen, we gain what is called saddha, faith, confidence. And this is real gaining. There are 4 basic kinds of confidence. Because once your confidence is built, is strengthened, is developed, we will follow this path to its end. The reason why we are not following this path to its end is because we sometimes only have confidence, mainly on Sundays. Other days, I'm not quite sure whether we are confident or not, right? So sometimes when I give a talk, I say, you come here to eat, you have to tapao, you have to tapao it home, so that on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, you also get a taste of the Dhamma. So these are the 4 kinds. The first is basic confidence, which all of you have. You have this confidence, I am sure, because on a Sunday morning, I'm sure you got other things to do. But you are here. Some of you sit on the floor. Some of you sit on the chair. Why are you here? You have this confidence to listen for somebody who's just come from another place, come and talk Dhamma to you. Share the Dhamma. So that shows you have confidence. Because it's not just me you have come to see, you have come to listen to the Dhamma. That keeps you here. And I have a friend at the back there whom I haven't seen for many, many years. So although he has come to see me, 2 of my friends, they have also come to listen to the Dhamma, which I'm very happy about. So that is basic. Then there is saddha accompanied by knowledge. That means stable saddha. It is not a shaky saddha. Even when you go home, you still want to read, you still want to listen, you still want to reflect on the Dhamma. Then there is the saddha of an Arya. That means those people who have crossed over, they have gone over greed, anger, and delusion. They have seen Nibbana. There is an experience when the ordinary person crosses over. We use this word crossover because the Buddha uses the simile of going through the door. It is called Magga Phala. It is going to the door and crossing to the other side. You open the door. First of all, you must be at the door, open the door, and after that, go into the other side. And having done so, you close this door forever. You never open that door anymore. Magga Phala. It is an enlightenment experience. There are 4 enlightenment experiences open to us. One is called Sotapanna, Sakadagami, Anagami, and Arahant. 4 times we can have this experience. Each time is higher and higher spiritually. When the person experiences this enlightenment, he or she has a glimpse of Nibbana. It is flash, very, very fast. But the person who, the yogi or the practitioner, knows this experience is nothing like he or she has ever experienced. They cannot describe it. They know they have experienced something extraordinary, but they cannot describe it. So when the teacher asks them, what did you experience? They say, I know when I'm going in, I know when I'm going out of their experience, but in between, I cannot explain to you. So then the yogi, the practitioner knows there is Nibbana. Nibbana is not a dream. Nibbana is not something teachers tell you to get you to be good. Nibbana can be experienced in the here and the now. Yeah, so we have faith. We have faith. And the people who experience this, their faith is the faith of unshakable because they know for sure it exists. Why? They have experienced it for themselves. Yeah. So this is open to us through our further study and practice. Then there is the saddha of the bodhisattva. Now, this is very unusual. Unless you have made the aspiration to be a Buddha, this kind of saddha is not easy for us to experience. It is a being who is not content to just be Arahant, wants to also be fully self-enlightened Buddha. And he will go on, or she will go on, for a very long time, in these rounds and rounds, until he will gain full enlightenment, like Gautama the Buddha. For most of us, we are very content to end the story by attaining, hopefully, at least the first stage of sainthood, Sotapanna. Okay. Then there is the incomparable quality of training. We train each other. When I was working for companies, they sent me for training, how to make money for the company. That kind of training. How to be a better manager. How to look after staff. And Brother Vincent was a trainer, so he trained people. He's a trainer of people. So we go through all kinds of training. When you come to BF, Buddhist Fellow, you also get trained how to do Buddhist work, according to Buddhist culture. But the training that the Buddha offered us, Sila, Samadhi, Panya, is not an ordinary training. It trains us to be better human beings. It lifts us in the way of virtue and wisdom. This is the very, very special training. So when people come here to be trained under the great teachers, after a while you will see the behavior is not the same as before. Due to the training, they have faith, saddha. And also due to the training, the ego goes down. The sense of self becomes weaker. And they are not so concerned about themselves anymore. So this is a very wonderful training. And the youth that I met yesterday, they are being trained very well. Their way of understanding is very impressive. So they will go a long way, I am sure. So that's what we come here. Not for the mundane, ordinary training. We come here for this training that will take us to security rather than insecurity, right? We also know that in the outside world, depression is on the rise. World Health Organization tells us that in the year 2020, it's only 2 years away, depression, clinical depression, real depression that needs treatment from a doctor is on the rise, and it will affect more than 20% of the world's population will not be able to work because of depression. So depression is when the mind is not happy to encounter the outside world, the mind retreats. And that is not just being sad for 1 or 2 days. It is actually not being able to function, to work, to be with others, as human beings. So we need this training, how to strengthen ourselves, how to see what is good, in order to be happy. The highest form of training is that described by the Buddha in the Satipatthana Sutta. This training will enable us to see clearly what is reality. So if you are interested to really experience reality, and we did our meditation that we did just now, brings us closer to reality, to actually see what are the body and mind experiences. To see for ourselves, not just to listen and then imagine, but to be able to see for ourselves what is reality. So this form of meditation practice that we call vipassana, and it belongs to this category of, some monks call it the higher mind. What is the higher mind? The higher mind are the last three factors of the Noble Eightfold Path. Right effort, right mindfulness, right concentration. Is embodied in Satipatthana. And you have great teachers here also, who are able to teach the Satipatthana method. In these coming years, we know that the Buddha's teachings becoming more and more diluted. In a few more 100, maybe 1,000 years, it will become even more diluted. And it is normal to accept that during this dilution, the weakening of the Buddha's teachings in this world, the most wonderful, the most virtuous practice will disappear first. So we expect that the practice of Satipatthana will very quickly be overshadowed by other practices. So it is to be expected because everything is impermanent. The Dhamma is not impermanent, but the Buddha's teachings in this world is impermanent. Right? And so it will be weakened and diluted as we go along. So I encourage all brothers and sisters to practice this form of mental culture in line with the Satipatthana. Right. I'd like to share with you this verse from the Anuttariya Sutta. And that is to say, when one, set in faith, set in love, single-minded, full of faith, trains in the teaching and the discipline proclaimed by the Tathagata, the Buddha, or trains oneself in the higher moral, or trains oneself in the higher mind, one trains in the higher wisdom. So this is actually called the unsurpassable training offered by the Buddha. Then there is the incomparable, the next one, of service and support. There are many organizations that support each other. There are some that support each other in terms of sports. There are sports organizations, give you more training in sports, in swimming, in tennis, badminton, football, all these trainings. But the greatest support, which actually is being done here, is that offered by the Sangha. The Sangha supports us in our study and practice. The next level of support are the lay people who look after this center and ensures this center goes on strongly, steadily. And what do they gain out of it? There's no money to be gained here, right? Why do they do it? Why do they give this kind of support? Because it comes out of them due to their faith, the saddha. They are happy to do it. The happiness that they experience is very unusual. As I said, it is one of the highest forms of happiness. So they support us. This support, selfless. It's a selfless support. They don't gain anything, but they still do it for everyone to gain the benefits of the Buddha's teachings. This is really, really high quality, incomparable support. Because when people support each other, they are thinking, what can I get out of it? But here, they give their time and their effort. What do they get? Nothing that we can see, but they get their own benefits and rewards as well. Yeah. So in this way, I encourage you all to give more and more support, to the Buddhist fellowship. Okay, I will. Okay. Then there is the incomparable quality of recollection. So we've gone through everything. Recollection is when you think about what you have learned. It stays with you in the mind. So sometimes when we've seen a great movie, a good picture, it stays with us. And then we discuss with our friends, hey, have you seen this movie or not? This scene was very, very good. And we enjoyed this, so we recollect. But when we meet each other, we should also recollect the Buddha's teachings and ask each other, you know that talk, this speaker said these things. Let's discuss for a while. Have some coffee and discuss these teachings. We recollect and then we discuss. We should do this more often. Take the Dhamma outside of the center. So this recollection helps us to be more focused. Because if we don't think of the Dhamma, we go back to our normal way of behaving and living in the world. We do need the recollection. And the recollection strengthens our saddha, strengthens our faith. When we recollect it outside of the time at the center. This is called yoniso manasikara. And this is right recollection, right recall, and right consideration, reflection on the Buddha's teachings. So we've gone through all the 6. And as I've said, these are the great gifts. When the Buddha appears, this high level of gifts are given to us. When he doesn't appear, or Buddhas don't appear, it is very mundane, it is very normal. So I would like to end with this verse from the Dhammapada for us to further reflect. Let us recall and reflect it. The Buddha, it is said in the Dhammapada, in Pali, Kiccho Manussa. Manussa is the word for human being. It's made up of 2 words. Mana, meaning mind, and Usaha, meaning can develop. So a human being is mind that can develop. Mana, Usaha. In the Malay word, we get this usaha, if you know Malay language. Mana usa. So in Pali is manusa. Kiccho manusa padilabo. It is hard to be born as a human being. It's not easy. But when we see so many human beings, we think it's easy. And that's because the population of human beings go up and down. The scientists tell us there's going to be another extinction of human beings soon. We've had 5 extinctions where a lot of human beings, then suddenly something happens, disappear. So in the next few thousand years, there's going to be another extinction where the human population will be greatly reduced. Then we will know that it is, in fact, hard to be born as a human being. Kichang matchana jivitang. Hard is the life of a mortal. When we are born here, we know it's very difficult to live life properly, cleanly, happily. Is very difficult. Because we are faced with a lot of attractions and distractions that tell us, do this, and wants to divert us from our goal. So it is hard meeting all these challenges. Kichang sat dhamma savanang. Hard it is to hear the true doctrine of the Buddha. Buddhism, or the Buddha's teachings at this stage, stand at number 4 in the world's religion. Buddhism will never be the most popular religion in the world. Why? Because it's very hard to be a Buddhist. So many things to do. So many things to learn and practice. So it is not easy to hear the true doctrine. Then the Buddha said, Kiccho buddhanang upaddo. Rare is the appearance of a Buddha. It's not easy to come across a Buddha. And even sometimes when we come across a Buddha, we don't come across the real teachings of the Buddha. We get diverted by other cults, and teachers. There are people who say, there is a living Buddha. Your Buddha passed away already. Come and listen to living, breathing Buddha. He's the real one, because in the world, your Buddha 2,500 years ago went off already. So these people come up with their own teachings. They are cults and not the real sublime teachings of the Buddha. So that's in the Dhammapada, verse 182. So we've gone through all the great gifts. I thank you for your kind attention. We make an aspiration. So may the Buddha's great gifts lead us to true peace and happiness through our dedicated study and through our own dedicated practice of the Buddha's Noble Eightfold Path. Yeah, thank you again.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. We have time for a few questions. Who'd like to ask the first one?
I've heard that only the enlightened people don't ask questions. Must be.
Brother Tan, my question is, you were talking about the teachings of Buddha, the anicca, dukkha, and anatta. My question would be, you were mentioning that anatta is unique to Buddhism, where we talk about the non-self. Has the past Buddhas and Maitreya Buddha would be teaching the same teachings, the three aspects?
As I mentioned, what are the teachings? In Pali, it goes, sabba papassa akaranang. Yeah? Keep away from that which is not beneficial. Kusalasa upasampada. That means do things which are beneficial. Sachitta pariyo dapanang, to train the mind towards purity. Etang buddhana sasanang. This is the teachings of all Buddhas. This is what the Buddha offered to us. So the last line is very, very significant. Etang buddhana sasanang. It is taught by all Buddhas. And this is because the Buddha teaches reality. The reality does not change. As long as the universe exists, the universe is run by laws and SOP. The universe has an SOP which does not ever change. So when the Buddhas come along, they remove the mask. They remove this cloud. And they are able to see the reality. And once they see the reality, they will teach what they see. There's no imagination. What they see in front of us, they will teach it. So every Buddha will access. This is the meaning of awakening. Awakening means they remove this cloud of ignorance. Then they see. And when they see, they teach. So all Buddhas see the same thing and teach the same thing. There will be no variation. Because if there is any variation, it's not the truth. They see the truth. They see the same thing. And so from the first Buddha in this universe, in our world cycle, on this earth, in fact, which tells us that this earth is a lot older than what human beings think. The human beings think that this earth is about 4.5 billion years old. It will interest you to know that there are people in this world who think that the earth is only 7,000 years old. They belong to this group called the young earth theory. This is because when they calculate, due to their holy book, they come to the conclusion the earth is only 7,000 years old. And when scientists say, no, this earth is very old, they say scientists are wrong. So this is the nature of the Buddha's teachings. As you practice and you are able to see what the Buddha wanted us to see, reality, the truth, the real nature of everything that exists, then we will come to the same conclusion. This is what the Buddha saw. And then we will have even greater confidence. Because what the Buddha described is what I see today. 2,600 years ago, he said, this is the nature of existence. And as we practice, we see the same thing. It's the same thing. It's real. There's no diversion or no dilution. But you have to be very careful to find the right teachers. Then we know that what the Buddha taught is the truth. It doesn't change. So some people ask, the Buddha existed so many years ago. Yeah, he came at the time when there was no real technology as we know it. He should have come today, then we use internet to spread the teachings. There was no need for the Buddha to do that. Because whatever he taught and his disciples, the many thousands of them, whatever they experience, you follow the teachings, you will also experience the same thing. In that way, we know that this has not changed. The truth of the Buddha, that the Buddha taught, does not change. In fact, it is very impersonal. We only, and I say it in the most respectful way, we only need the Buddha to show us the way. And then after that, we can remove the Buddha. It's not respectful, right? But that is the actual truth. The Buddha showed us the teachings, the way. Right? And then after that, he had to go because, he cannot live forever. He is not a supernatural being who lives forever. So he says, I got to go because my body can only hold me for a certain time. And then he passed away. But whatever he left here is for us to study and practice on our own. And then when we find that, hey, it's true, right? We will never go far away from the teachings. We might be sometimes distracted for a while. We have responsibilities, we have priorities. I need to do this, I need to do that. But eventually, the mind will come back to the teachings. Somehow, you will seek the teachings out again and continue with your practice of clearing the mind of all kinds of clouds, ignorance. And then when we see it, we become more confident. So the point I'm trying to make is the Buddha's teachings does not need glorification. Because sometimes we build big temples. We sometimes build big centers, acres and acres. When in actual fact, what do you need to practice? You need one cushion, you need to sit, and then you practice. This is the space that you need. You don't need big buildings. You need this 2 feet by 2 feet space. That's all you need. Right? If you can find a nice tree, sit under the nice tree. You find an air-conditioned room such as this, which is so comfortable, stay here and practice. And see what the Buddha actually taught. Yeah? I hope that is, I could go on, but it will take time.
Thank you. I want to ask about the perfection of Buddha. So you started off by saying that Buddha was have perfected the thing, coincidentally or by copy. And the Christians also say the same thing about Christ, a perfect human being. And I'm sure the Muslim also say the same thing about Muhammad. So is that some kind of coincidence, or is it just copying, or what is this perfect human beings in 3 different? I'm sure there are others, but I just mentioned 3.
True. Okay. Thank you for that question. It's a very, very good question. If we remove all the labels, this is Buddhism, this is Christianity, this is Islam, right? If we remove the labels, what do we get? We get perfect human qualities. And this is what we are looking for. As I said, Buddhism is not interested in labels. You can remove the label that this is Buddhism. And what do you get? You will get perfect human qualities. So whether a person belongs to this religion or that religion, you can see great qualities in that person. And these great qualities existed in the Buddha. I am also I think this will go down well with you. I'm a great admirer of Lee Kuan Yew. Why? Politics aside. He was a great, determined human being. He wanted to do this, and nobody can sway him from what he wanted to do. He set a goal, and he walked towards it without any distraction, right? Of course, some people who disagreed with him, he put them away, right? Okay, we are not perfect. We are not perfect. But what we admire is this great quality. This great quality doesn't have a name. It is human quality. The human quality of determination, great foresight. Put away all the religious labels. We only get this. And this is what we are looking for. Somehow we have given it a name. And that name is Buddhism. You want to remove that name, also fine. This is what we are admiring. We admire great human quality. And we say that the Buddha had the greatest of human qualities because he practiced this for world cycles. Universes will come and universes will go, and he is still practicing 10 of them, according to Theravada Buddhism. Some people say there are 6. But the Buddha practiced all these until he couldn't do anymore. It was full. His perfection of determination, aditthana, is impossible to add. Cannot add anymore. The container, you add some more, will overflow. So all these, full. And when these were full, it was time for him to fulfill this aspiration. He used this, including wisdom, including loving kindness, including charity, dana, all this. They were absolutely full. Because he had been practicing this, and we believe, for incalculable lengths of time. So he practiced this until the time that he appeared in India 2,600 years ago. All the conditions were right. And then he attained this state of being able to understand the nature of the universe clearly in every detail. And because the title given to him was Buddha, everybody said, he is Buddha. We are now using that label to call ourselves Buddhists. So when we see human beings having great qualities, some of them, I'm not saying all of them, some of them actually are walking the same path. They are perfecting themselves. They are walking the same path. And somewhere in incalculable amounts, eons of time, they too might sit under one tree. The tree will change. For our Gautama Buddha, it's a pipal tree. And then he eventually called it Bodhi tree. The other Buddhas had their different trees. He will sit under one tree somewhere, and then there will be a breakthrough. Everything that he has practiced comes together, pump. He understands the nature of existence. There's no name, There's no name. There's no T-shirt, I am Buddha. There's no name. He just said, now I understand. Simple as that. So he goes around teaching, and people say, very nice. It helps me to overcome my insecurities, and I like it. And it grew and grew and grew and grew. And then it became this system we call Buddhism. When the Buddha, in his past lives, Bodhisattva, was practicing, he was not all the time Buddhist. When many lifetimes ago, there was a Buddha also, but he was born at the time of a Buddha. He was not all the time attracted to go and listen to this Buddha. Some people will say, hey, there's a Buddha. I don't know the name. There was another Buddha. Let's go and listen to the Buddha. Sometimes he will say, no need none. He was not automatically attracted to Buddhism at that time. So he went on with his own practice. My teacher, late teacher, was absolutely convinced that Mahatma Gandhi is a bodhisattva. He was practicing this great determination, leading his country without any violent means. He gained independence from India. Yeah. So Kesri Dhammananda, my teacher, was absolutely convinced he is a bodhisattva. So is he Buddhist? He knew about Buddhism, but he wasn't really a supporter of Buddhism. He was absolutely Hindu, Hindu to the core. His friend, Nehru, was more a friend of Buddhism, supported Buddhism. But Gandhi, okay, Buddhism is fine, but let's follow Hinduism. But you can see the great human qualities in this person.
We have a last question
Okay,
here
you.
because Brother Tan needs to go.
Brother, just now you mentioned we don't need to glorify the Buddha image, even the image is just made of maybe gray or papers. But I don't know, have you been to this Buddha relic temple? Because I understand all the Buddha image there are all made of gold. And actually, before they built temple, they actually asked those Buddhists to donate gold, and then they melt it down and they build those Buddha images. So I don't know, what is your comment on this?
Yeah, in certain Buddhist countries, when they make a Buddha image, especially in a very well-known temple, they ask devotees, Buddhists, to donate gold items. Then they melt it and create this Buddha image. Yeah, I think if you are willing to part with the gold item, yeah, go ahead. Then you will feel very happy, because the important thing is you must be happy. Yeah, you must be happy that you have supported the formation or the construction of the Buddha image. And this happiness, every time you see the Buddha image, happiness arises in you. That's very good. Yeah, you have the repeat happiness. Rather than one happiness, you repeat. When you donate bell, it's very good. There are some temples, they ask people to donate bell. So every time the bell rings, happy. Tong, happy. Tong, happy. Oh, it's very, very good. Because happiness stays with you for a very long time. Yeah, and it comes through the ears. So, these are good things to do. But you should also ring the bell that doesn't have sound. Yeah, and that is the bell of your heart, right? And when you really bring the Buddha's teachings home, this bell can ring anytime. Really ring anytime. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Brother Tan. Let's say 3 sadhus before Brother Tan takes a leave of us. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.